Well, hello y'all. It's a big exciting day today. We received 124 of our first 132 lithium iron phosphate cells. And so now the big job of testing each of those cells for their capacity starts. These cells were purchased from China, directly from China, and they're promised to be grade A cells, new, with factory QR codes, and all those promises are made every time. And then you receive the cells and you find out how much you were lied to. So that's what we're discovering this morning, is how much we were lied to. I have a system set up for documenting what I'm receiving and also entering it all into a spreadsheet so that I can make the most efficient groupings of 16 cells for each battery, because each battery is only as the capacity is limited by the weakest cell. So if I group all the weakest cells into one battery, I have one weak battery instead of 12 weak batteries. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and I've done 12 so far. I'm going to go ahead and show you the process that I'm using for the next 4. And each one comes with a label on the carton. They promised that they were matched for capacity and internal resistance, and it's all a lie. This box is 1-2. There would be a 1-1 through 1-4 because each box has 4 cells. The only good thing about this is they packed them so that they didn't get damaged on the way here. They packed them in this high density foam carton, and I swear y'all, every package looks different when I open it up. It's crazy. Alright, so each one is coming with this double-sided pieces that I presume are designed to stick these cells together. I'm not going to use it. They also come with bus bars, 4 bus bars, package is broken, 4 bus bars and 8 nuts is what's showing up with each one. They were supposed to come with 8 bus bars and 16 nuts, but don't always get what you want or what you promised. I printed up on a Dymo labeler, I printed up a tape that has the numbers 1 through 202, because eventually I will have 202 of these cells. So the first thing I do is label each cell so that I can enter the information for the test results, and I will always reference back to this original number that I put on here when I received the cells. They will get a different number later when I determine which cells are going into which battery pack. They will always have this original reference number for the original test results so that I can later test them and see how they're holding up. Now, these were supposed to be 200 amp hour cells. If you look, these cells have no QR code. There is a QR code, but it has been covered up. So let's take a look. So I don't know if this cell was sitting on the shelf too long, so the manufacturer, these are supposed to be Cattle brand 280 amp hour cells. Now if I peel this top cover off. This cover was put on by the reseller, and there is a QR code underneath it. And on that QR code, in very fine print, it shows 860, 3.2 volts, 867 watt hours. And if you do the math, that comes out to 271 amp hours, not 280. So that's the first lie. Or the second lie, there's no QR code. These are not grade A cells. We can tell already, because if they were, they wouldn't have this plate covering over the original QR code, and I'm not even certain that that's the original QR code. That could be a fake QR code that was put on, and now it's been covered up. So the first thing I do is label them. The second thing I do is I weigh them. They are supposed to weigh 5.2 kilos. That's about what they're weighing. This is 11.5 pounds. So 11.5 pounds. Set it into the fixture that I have. Then I have a tester that tests for the internal resistance. It's a 4-wire tester, and it says that the internal resistance of this cell is 0.17 milliohms. So I'm going to come over to the computer, and cell number 13 is going to be 0.17 milliohms and 11.5 pounds. And the note I'm going to put is that the QR code is covered, but it shows 867 watt hours. And then the carton is labeled 1.2. I'll never remember any of this later if I don't write it all down now. Later, after the capacity test is done, I'll enter the capacity, and then there'll be an assigned location for which battery pack it goes in and which cell it is within that battery pack. So this Excel spreadsheet will be my Bible. Okay, so go ahead and do the rest of these and get this out of the way. That is 11.65 pounds. And I have screwed that up. I need to make sure that all of the positive connections are on the same side. Oddly, the positive connection on these cells is the black terminal, and let's split this one up too. These were put in alternating fashion. All right, so 11.65 pounds, and the internal resistance on this cell .18 milliamps. All right, and the next one. 11.5 pounds. Internal resistance. .17 milliohms. And the last one in this carton. And then I'll show you what I'm seeing with all these different cells that I'm getting. They're all supposed to be identical cells, and this could be worse. I'm not seeing any bent studs. There are some small dings in them, but no big dents. There's no leaking electrolyte. I've seen pretty bad horror stories in some online forums about what you can receive with these. There were several lies involved in these, but okay, I've got to keep my head in the game. I think I weighed this and it was 11.5 pounds, but I do this so many times now that I don't want the memories to run together. Oh no, actually this is 11.6 pounds and 0.17 milliohms. 11.6 pounds, 0.17 milliohms. Later, I will take the Excel spreadsheet and I will group by capacity and then subgroup by internal resistance, but I'll never put two cells with greatly different internal resistances together because they will charge and discharge at a different rate from one another. All right, so I will be putting, I have these cell dividers. I want to show you a few more things before I kill this video. So I have these cell dividers. These are thin cutting board sheets of nylon, I believe it is, that helps as a resistor, an insulator, because these cells are wrapped with this thin plastic wrap, but the outside of these cells is aluminum, and it's conductive to one of the, either the anode or the cathode in this cell, and so I don't trust this thin plastic wrap, so I have this really tough sheet good going in between that's designed as a cutting board, thin disposable cutting board. So I've cut that up, ordered it up, and cut it up into pieces to put in between these cells. Now, if you look at these cells, they all got delivered together, and you see these cells have the vent with a silver ring around it. The next four had a blue ring around it, and this has no QR code, it's underneath. This has a QR code showing. Then the next batch had the silver ring and the QR code, and the next batch has the silver ring and no QR code. And then if you look at the color of the terminals, it varies. I would not be surprised to find out that these cells were used, had previously been in a vehicle or something. I wouldn't be surprised. But now the other thing I want to show you is, this is a tester that I'm using to test the capacity. Right now it's charging up this first cell at 40 amps and it will charge up to 3.65 volts and it will shut off. And then I will do a discharge test. While I'm doing that discharge test with this tester, I will use another power supply to start charging the next cell. And then when it comes time to test that cell, I will charge the third cell and I will start recharging. This cell will be empty or at bottom of its capacity when I get finished with this capacity test, and I can't leave it there. So I will use a third power supply to charge that one back up. This is the most expensive device I have, And so I'm only going to be using it, once I get this first one done, I'll only be using it for the discharge test. Each discharge test will take, well, it's a 40 amp tester and a 271 amp cell. And so it will take 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours because it ramps down at the end. It doesn't discharge. Well, it does discharge at 40 amps. So it will actually take about 7 hours for each cell to discharge. And I will have to do that 7-hour cycle 202 times eventually. So this will take 2 or 3 months to get this all done. And that's if I'm able to do 3 batteries a day. It's possible that I will only get 2 done per day, depending on what else I have going on. But it's important to me to get the capacity tested on all of them. This one is able to be tied to a computer, but not to a Mac. So I dug up an old PC laptop, and it wasn't good for anything except I was able to get it booted up and load this software onto it, and it documents the charge curve and makes it much easier to interface with this device. So this computer is relegated to just doing this one function. I would buy another one of these, but I think I would need another cast-off computer to hook it to, and I don't have one available, and I've just decided that I will just take my time and get this done at the rate that I'm able to. So that's it. I have a lot more boxes with batteries outside to bring in. I've got some already brought inside. I've got to do all the inspection and unboxing today, and then I will communicate with the supplier and let them know what I received compared to what they promised, and then we will see what kind of an agreement we can come to. All right. Well, that's the end of that video. It's a big part of the project when you finally get to receive your cells and start putting them together and documenting what you've got, because until you have that, you're just working but not really putting anything together that actually does anything. I will now start assembling these battery packs, and they're the ones that do the real work in this whole system. All right. Thank you for watching. Please share these videos with others. I'd like to see if we can grow the channel so that YouTube will recommend these videos to people who are interested in this subject. And so like this video if you found it interesting, and please subscribe to the channel. Got to have a certain number of subscribers before YouTube takes you seriously at all. Thank you very much. Have a good day.